Hi, so my name is Ria, and we will do this question answer round to get to know you better and understand your practice better. So, yeah, we'll start with your introduction first.
Hi, thanks for having me. I'm Jwalant, Mahadevwala, and I'm a principal architect and founder at N Black Design Studio, which is a transdisciplinary design studio based out of Ahmedabad.
Wow. What do you mean by transdisciplinary?
Transdisciplinary means that we do multiple things within design in terms of furniture, art, so different scales of design, but each scale influencing the other. So there is a term called multidisciplinary that you work with different disciplines, and transdisciplinary I say because it transcends the boundary of the discipline.
That's why I was trying to emphasize on what do you mean by transdisciplinary. Interesting. So, okay, we're going to start with the questions. We're going to start with question number 1. You can answer it however you like and whatever feels right to you. So, having worked at Zaha Hadid, architect, and studied at the AA in London, how did those experiences shape your approach when you co-founded N Black?
And a lot of people ask me in terms of their work with Zaha and at the AA because they are big names.
Big names. And
when you put your CV, the big names pop out.
Yeah.
But I see myself very differently. I see ourselves as lasagnas. There are layers of information within ourselves, layers of experience within ourselves. And when I think of anything, I think, or I try to think through as many layers as possible through my life. If I only look at the top 2 layers or the last 2 layers which people define me as work with Zaha and work, at studied at the AA and or parametric architect and things like that, I am reducing complexity of the thought I have.
I agree.
So I don't define myself as that. I went there because, or there was an aspiration to go there before I went there, is because the layers below that were developing in a sense where I needed to push that to get some knowledge, experience, or just exploration of what that space has to offer and that world has to offer. But doing parametric forms doesn't necessarily only come from Zaha or from A. It just reinforced what I wanted to do before.
Oh, interesting. I actually agree with you on this because I definitely feel like even in the first 2 podcasts with the other designers, artists, creators, however we define ourselves, they like adding big names is just like a representation to the society we land because they identify those big names. But as who we are, we don't identify those names. It's just like, an experience that we have lived, but that's not who we are. I definitely agree on this. Oh, that was a really great answer. Thank you. So moving on to our question number 2. You have completed over 70 projects. Wow. Each carrying an experimental edge. What has been the most challenging project so far in terms of pushing boundaries with materials and design processes? And how do you convince clients to trust innovation over conventional methods?
So a lot of projects have been very, very challenging. Now, when you say 70 projects, they are not architecture projects. They are MEAS projects.
Transdisciplinary, definitely.
Scales of projects. A lot of these projects have been challenging for that time. And so, for example, Bucky was very, very challenging because we wanted to do something which has never been done before within our context and even context abroad. The school which we recently did in Vijayawada has been challenging because we only used local people there to do it, which were never even seen a curved filling. I have done installations which I never did. So every project at that stage is the most challenging for us because the next we want to challenge ourselves.
Yeah.
To
test the water.
Question where we have not been before. That is what excites me. I don't feel excited doing the same thing over again. So whenever we get an opportunity to flirt with design, if I may say it, we want to flirt with the toughest one at that point in time. So I am constantly looking at those challenges as something to keep me pushed enough and not just be cozy with what we are or where we are. So there have been many projects, and every few years we stumble upon something where I almost feel that this time I have dig a grave for myself, but I try not to fall in that cage.
Wow. So, I mean, in that sense, you're like testing the waters for yourself and testing if you will not drown and you will swim through it.
Probably.
That's interesting. But I mean, in this process, do you actually find it hard to convince your partners? Like, is it like there has been any time during the project where the trust process isn't happening, or they are feeling like, it's not going to work out for them as well?
It happens. It has happened in the past, and it does happen in between. But I think I'm a decently sweet talker to say that.
I agree that.
And you have to do. So luckily, I've been able to sail through the questions which I have the answers for. It hasn't been done before. So a client would always say, "Kahin pe dikha do where it has been done," and I don't have, because I don't want to do
that thing
in before, or which I can show you before.
Yeah,
It's done in the West, but it's done in a very, very different way. They have machines. Here we are doing everything by.
And I think also the climate changes, the topography change, geography change. I think what is practice, the cost changes.
Everything is possible, but the cost is not possible.
I mean, you have been in London. I'm also coming from London.
So the costs are completely different. Right?
High, very high.
It is how you manipulate is not the right word, but if you kind of, how do you swim through all those obstacles? It's like it is what is important.
Yeah, I mean, that's actually a very interesting trait that you have refined over time, or maybe it was already there within you. Probably your name suggests.
Probably.
Sun. So, yeah, thank you for second question. It was, amazing answer yet again. So question 3, are there uncharted territories in architecture or design that you are eager to explore?
There are many waters which I haven't swam through. There will be more. The more you swim, the more you will realize that the next one you haven't seen.
Yeah.
So we are constantly challenging ourselves, like how I said before. And when we challenge that thing, I will be able to see the next horizon. Right now, I don't know what the next horizon is, because if I knew, then it would not be challenging. So we are trying to push ourselves slowly, trying to look at new things, new ways of looking at things, and that will lead us to the next step. And I will keep that completely open. The day I feel that I have become mediocre in what I do, because doing the same thing will make us mediocre, I'll probably stop it and do something else. So mediocrity is something which I don't want to get into in my life, and so that also pushes us to try and be actively engaged in our thought processes.
Interesting. Mediocre and how you see things. Interesting keywords for me to catch there. But I mean, you define your practice as transdisciplinary, which means, of course, I'm not saying it's mixed, but it's like you navigating from one medium to another and trying to find connections, if I have understood it that right.
Trying to find connections, more than trying to find connections, is influencing the other. So
influencing the other, okay.
So before I was able to do a large parametric structures, I was doing sculptures or I'm still doing installations and furniture. Well, same people who were first trying to understand bending with me, or double curve bending, then single curve bending, then facetting and things like that, who build chairs like that for me, are able to build buildings for me. So this this interaction between skills is also helping me understand the material better, is helping me develop kind of people around me who are able to deliver what I promise. Because finally, what you show to a client is in a way contractual, in what they pay you for what you show. So even if you don't sign a contract on that term, it is a contractual agreement.
It is.
But I've seen now I can show something and build something saying that, oh, ये तो सिर्फ देखने में होता है, बनता तो ऐसा ही है. You cannot do that. But because of this transdisciplinary practice, which automatically emerged, it was not a thought from beginning. It has helped us learn things at a much smaller scale and then slowly build our own knowledge about those materials.
Interesting. So this is my personal question now. Now when I have, I've kind of understood your practice, or maybe I'm trying to understand your practice here. How would you position yourselves in a word? Can it be cultural influence, heritage influence around sustainability, or something that understanding what the future holds in terms of materiality as well?
I don't place myself
Anywhere? Okay.
Avoid doing it, or I don't even need to avoid myself doing it. I just don't do it. I look at myself as someone who is adventurous in life, in our practice, in our thought, a little bit of a rebellion as well, to constantly challenge not necessarily the status quo, what we see around, but we challenge ourselves also. So the rebel is also towards our own work at some point. Because it's very easy to get into
the circle of things.
Into this is how and black things look like. So you have to stop yourself from that easy
part.
So I purely look at myself not belonging to a lot of this word which props every year. There was few years back it was green architecture, then it became sustainable architecture, which is the same thing. Then right now some people are talking about parametric architecture, and when they think about parametric architecture in India, they think of us. But you also do projects which are non-parametric, and I spend equal amount of time on that. So it doesn't, I end up talking about it because very few people are talking about it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that the other part of our work, which I said as a lasagna, if you cut, there is a lot of us which is non-parametric within that experience. So I don't fit myself anywhere, and I don't try to fit anywhere, and I don't try not to fit in.
Yeah.
Within a larger order which gets created in the world.
Nice. Thank you. That was my personal question I wanted to ask and see how that would, just getting an insight of your practice, because it's nice to understand, because even as a person, a lot of artists and designers do feel that they have to cater to something one, because people see that something one before. For example, if a young designer is getting a job or an artist is getting a job, they'll be like, oh, you do surrealism. Oh, you are a packaging design person. Are you branding? Because people always put you in that box because it's easy for them to segment you. So when I find people who are, trying to break that niche, it's very...
See, you have to... I'm not even trying to break that niche, and I'm not trying to fit from it. I'm just being completely oblivious that it exists. Because when you try to break, that is also behind your thoughts. So something which you think will happen to you. So, and then you're scared of it. So something you're scared of it will happen to you. So I'm not trying to break away from that box, and I'm not trying to...
So it does not exist for you.
Oblivious that it exists.
Sure. Nice. So it does not affect you.
It doesn't affect me at all.
Lovely. So moving on to this question of architectural photography is about capturing permanence, yet buildings interact with ever-changing elements like time, of course, weather, and human activity. How do you navigate this paradox to create images that feel both timeless and dynamic?
I don't. Because I don't take...
Yeah, this is...
I don't click those photographs. I don't ponder upon photographs. You won't believe I don't even look at my project photograph.
You don't
No.
No, you just make them and...
We just get them shot. I show it to clients when I need to show something in terms of materiality or space.
So documentation...
It is purely documentation and publishing. But that doesn't
affect your work.
affect me. That doesn't affect.
If you have produced something and it is affected by a space, time and everything, you are away from the work now.
I have done a work.
It's there.
I'm super involved when it's happening. Super involved. It's like every house is my house. But once it's given, I'm completely detached.
Letting go.
I don't get into it. Yeah, I would hate when they keep it badly. So when I see it, but I hate any space which is kept badly. And I leave it because it is mine, but it is no more mine, because the moment you don't leave anything, you don't have space to grab another thing. Nice. So you need to just empty yourself and create space for the next one.
Wow. Agreed. I agree with this. The idea of it being ephemeral in nature, something that is not permanent, I like that idea. So my last question, then we kind of wrap this up. What would be your message to young designers, artists, architects, whosoever you want, general audience also? It doesn't have to cater to any, design persona, personality or mind. But if you see a young aspirant trying to find their way through life, because now after talking to you, I have understood that it's not just about design or making something, but it's also about the personality of how you form things. So if you find like a creative soul, what would be your message for them?
There are multiple things I would like to say young people, but it all depends on the situation, what they are in, or what mind space I would in. But one of the things which is very, very, or one of the few things, and was very, very important, first is that you have to do to learn. What I see nowadays, specifically younger kids who are interns or just graduates, a lot of them want to learn things by seeing things. You don't learn by seeing, you learn by doing. If you are gifted, if you're a gifted designer, until you keep designing, you will not enhance.
Your gift will be lost. To be honest, I don't believe in gifted things.
So there are evolved beings in a certain manner, because everybody is evolved differently. So
evolution. So yes.
So certain people are slightly more evolved to how they look at things. Certain people are evolved to look at things differently. So you have to do. Now, the more you do younger, the more mistakes you will make. The more mistakes you will make, the more you will learn from. And your brain will start to wire certain things as intuition, which is not technically intuition, which is purely your understanding of what has happened. So the next time when I put two things together today, if you give me a paper, the way I would put it today would be very different the way I put it 10 years back, very different the way I put it 20 years back. Not because I've got better at it. It's just that I've worked with paper so much, for example, that today all that is turning into intuition to make me, that the things I will notice would be very different from the things I noticed 10 years back. As good, bad, ugly, I don't care. But so first is you have to know. So if you are a craftsman, you have to think that you're a craftsman. So if you're a craftsman of 100 years back, you were born in a craft family. As a child, they will say that just make colors. They will not even allow you to touch a canvas. Just make color. Just even don't make color. If you want to put yellow, make yellow. What do you have to do? That one process they'll make you do. Why? Because they want these processes to become part of it.
Part of you.
So now what is happening is that because of the abundance of information, people think information is important, but information is information.
Agreed. There's no consumption there.
Within you.
Yeah.
You and your cells have to
absorb it.
So if you're a boxer, they will talk to you about muscle memory, that even if your body is tired, your hand should still kick. The hand should still hit that bloody guy.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. So You have to create your own muscle memory by doing it. So that's the first thing. And the second is sometimes you have to struggle. A lot of kids today they don't get an idea, and what they'll do is go on Pinterest and start searching that I want this because I'm struggling with this cycle. You have to study answer that. But the day, like we said, an hour back, that he didn't do anything for 10 hours and 10 months, and then after that, what he produced was one of the best works he did. That 10 months was not
just sitting.
And
I know.
I was relaxing.
Yeah.
So the 10 months probably were
Analyzation.
or analyzing or thinking or reading or improving, So that is part of the struggle. That is part of what you have to go deep within you. And to go deep within you, you should not be disturbed. But now today's generation is constantly disturbed. They are constantly within a second looking at a new thing. So one will be a third video, and then it will be a spiritual video, and then there'll be someone who will write a code, and then there'll be a multimillionaire who will say how to become a millionaire, and then there'll be an architect who will say, oh, this is the space, and then there'll be a futuristic designing who will do that, and then there's a car. So imagine within a minute, I'm going at 10 different topics, each producing a different kind of chemical within me and a different kind of emotion within me. Where am I? I'm completely messed up. So you have to purely spend time within yourself and struggle with yourself. Because
interesting.
That's what nobody wants to do. You cannot make someone spend 10 minutes with themselves and just say, okay, sit there for 10 minutes, and they'll think it's a punishment. That's a struggle you have to go through to really bring something out from within.
Yeah, there's a lot of stimulation in terms of what you see, understand, and take in. I know, I mean, of course, even if you live in a family and you have different generation within your family, you see how every generation is different from the other.
No, but now every generation is stuck on phones and the unnecessary information. If I'm with my parents, not that I'm on my phone, my parents are more on the.
I agree. Even my mother.
So it is with everyone. So we have got hooked onto something, we call it a me time, but it's actually not me time. So we don't want to struggle with ourselves. We want a way out. And I would say struggle with yourself.
That's nice. Thank you. Thank you so much for all your amazing self-reflective answers, I guess. That's how I would define it. Thank you.
Becoming overloved.
No, it's actually a very good conversation. Yeah, because it's my first time also meeting and knowing you. And I also resonated with a lot of things. Maybe not about growing old, but just trying to understand of what I also think a lot about what's happening in this generation as an educator as well. When you sit with the students and you see them struggling, which they feel is struggle, but then you're like, no, you have not even sat with that idea.
Right.
So I definitely agree. But yeah, let's touch base on this topic whenever we see each other around. Thank you so much. And it was a pleasure. So yeah, we'll end this podcast. Thank you for joining us and being with us, sticking along, and for the amazing conversation.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.